This is Media Sales Mastery, the podcast for media sales professionals. In each episode, we bring you information, insights, and ideas from some of the industry's top thought leaders. Connect with us to help pick the topic and guide the show.
This is Media Sales Mastery, the podcast for media sales professionals. I am your host, Jamie Wood, and this was one of the more different episodes I've done. I actually just got off doing a LinkedIn Live. I guess you could call it a podcast, although I did have my camera on. Just wanted to dabble in the world of LinkedIn Live. I'm increasingly finding myself going to sessions, and I really like just kind of like the live, almost like the informal nature of it. It's a little bit lower production value, a little bit more just kind of getting people who are free on a call and having a bit of interactivity. So there were some great people who joined. I only had about 7 in the audience, but hey, it's now recorded for everyone else to have a listen to. Covering off a really interesting topic of cracking the sales management code. And I'm mindful I don't do a lot of content around sales management or sales leadership. I really focus on more of the tactical side of media sales. But I thought it's probably time I start doing more of this, because I've probably spent more than a decade now as a sales director or as a sales leader. I've run about 4 different teams, and I've run teams of sales managers. So I guess you could say sales leadership is actually my core specialty, but very specifically in the media industry. So what this is all about is just giving a really simple framework for anyone in a sales management role, be it somebody new, somebody aspiring, or somebody who's a bit of a veteran. It's something that's always worked for me. I borrowed it very heavily from a book called Predictable Revenue, which I read many years ago, and it's a bit dry in terms of the content of that book, but it is definitely worth a read for anyone who wants to get a better understanding of how to run a sales org from a operational and a strategic standpoint. Without any further delay though, this is the live recording, which I just finished doing, and hit me up in the LinkedIn comments if you enjoyed that format, if you enjoyed the content, if there's a topic you think would be worth doing. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Away with the content we go.
Media Sales Mastery.
This is the first Media Sales Mastery live podcast I'm doing, and this one is all around cracking the sales management code. I'm going to be covering off basically 4 things that on any given week a media sales manager should be focused on, and try to distill that down into a really actionable playbook for anybody to just take away and apply immediately to their role. Okay, let's start this off just with a little bit of context. What would we say is the primary role of a sales manager within a media organization? Does anyone want to have a go? Do you want to hit me in the comments? What do you think it is? What is the role that a media sales manager is employed to do? Okay, what have we got? Yep, managing people, managing salespeople, absolutely. Hitting revenue targets, yep. Motivating and leading a team, yep, absolutely. Look, these are all the right answer. Let me give you a more clinical definition of what I think the primary responsibility is. The responsibility of a media sales manager is to do one thing. It is to put time, people, and money into the areas that generate the greatest overall return for the business. Okay, now return for the business can be more than just revenue. It might be staff engagement. It might be customer satisfaction. But it is primarily a strategic role, and explaining it in a very clinical term like time, people, money, it makes people understand that it's a strategic role. It's about making decisions, it's about making sacrifices, it's about making choices. So let's think of that as the absolute non-negotiable: time, people, money. Now, it's not that simple. It's not just a case of going, we're going to spend all our time over here doing this, we're going to put our people into these territories, and we're going to spend money on these initiatives. Okay, the only way that a sales manager can actually fulfill the role is through the motivation, the management, the leadership, the coaching, the guidance, the mentorship, the support, the development of their people. Okay, it is a people leadership, people management role. However, different people are at different places in the journey. For a lot of people, moving into sales management can actually be completely different to what they expected it to be. Some people who've been in a sales management for a while feel like they're just chasing their tail constantly or dealing with personnel issues. So everyone's at different stages, but I wanted to give this framework. Context on me is I've been a sales director for nearly a decade now. I was a sales manager before that. I've run teams of sales managers. I've got a bit of a perspective here. And whilst I don't do a lot of content on the podcast around sales leadership, it's probably my primary area of expertise. So let's jump into the 4 things that a media sales manager should be focused on any given week. Number 1, market coverage. The question, are your people covering their customer base, and are they across all relevant opportunity? Okay, now market coverage is not the same as meeting KPIs. I'll repeat that. Market coverage and meeting quotas are not the same thing. Okay, market coverage is around having the appropriate level of contact with customers based on the level of contact that those customers require. So when we think about market coverage, what we need to think about are a couple of things. If a rep had a target of, or a KPI of 10 meetings a week, they could probably get those 10 meetings. But are they getting those 10 meetings by covering the market strategically, or are they getting the meetings by going and seeing the same 5 customers multiple times? Are they getting those 10 meetings by going and over-servicing one agency and neglecting the rest of their agencies? Are they just going and kind of being a little bit too high touch with certain accounts, meanwhile neglecting or not being present enough with other accounts? So market coverage is about making sure that your team are across the whole market, that they have the contact, the recency of contact, so that they can be across all relevant revenue opportunity in the market. Now, this is a big one too around account service, existing customers versus new business. Particularly if you're running a direct sales team, when you think about market coverage, what you need to think about is, do you actually have people out there covering the new market opportunities as well? What are those new emerging categories that we can go and tap some of that growth? Where are our competitors currently out targeting? Where are we not potentially having a seat at the table or a conversation? So market coverage is a massive one. And it's not just a tactile thing. Okay, it's not just about doing meetings. It's not just about being face-to-face, although that is always going to be a real driver of a media sales business. Market coverage could also just be around having really appropriate contact level via phone. It could be through the very kind of strategic and tailored sharing of collateral. It could be just doing some engagement with a client or a prospect's LinkedIn. So market coverage is really about just making sure that your team feel present in the market. They feel like they're in contact with their customers. They feel like they're across the new market opportunities. And really, I think it's important that you make sure that they are spreading their time appropriately based on where the prioritization needs to be. So big one, first and foremost, it's the non-negotiable, is market coverage. Number 2, customer orientation. Are your team hyper-focused on the customer and the customer's challenges? Okay, so this one feels a bit ambiguous. Some people go to me, well, yeah, they love their clients or they're great with their clients. Let me put it into a more clinical kind of framework for you. If your rep is in 10 hours of client meetings a week, so of that 10 hours, what percentage of that 10 hours are spent talking about the customer, their marketplace, and their product and or problem? Versus what percentage of those 10 hours is spent talking about your product, your challenges, your product suite, and the things that are going on in the reps world. So what I mean by that is you need to kind of find, I guess, a balance where you've got your reps out there confident in the product, fully across what it is that they sell, across their USPs, very well versed in their channel, etc., etc. But customer orientation is a massive one. If your reps don't understand the trading environments their clients are operating in, if your reps don't understand the economic drivers, if your reps don't understand how your client fundamentally makes money, if they don't have an understanding of really what would make their business thrive or have some difficult headwinds, those are real issues. Those are real knowledge gaps that you need to try and close, because customer orientation is the single biggest differentiator between a strategic partner and a product pusher. And I think it's fair to say that if you look across the marketplace, there's a lot of great media salespeople with the gift of the gab, with a lot of product knowledge, but have very limited customer orientation. You need people out in market who have empathy, who have understanding, who have emotional intelligence. And I've got a question here. Yes, that is a good question. That is a very good comment. There is a different expectation on different meetings. So what I mean by that, the question for anyone listening audio only was, in an uncovery meeting, shouldn't you be speaking primarily about the client versus in a pitch, shouldn't you be speaking mostly about you and your product? Yes. Like broadly speaking, yes. But that again comes down to customer orientation. Your reps need to understand when it is appropriate to dial up and to educate and talk about themselves. I'm not saying that you can't talk about yourself, but it's about leading with the customer, understanding their world, wanting to genuinely help them solve their challenges, and really making sure that they're at the forefront of everything you do. So customer orientation, again, another one. Just getting an understanding. There might be clients that want the rep to sit there and nerd out for 25 minutes and talk about their TV network or talk about what they're doing in BVOD. That's completely fine if that's what the client wants. And that's about reading what the customer orientation needs to be in that scenario. Really good question though, and absolutely correct. Okay, number 3, product focus. This is a big one. What product or mix of products is my team taking out to market? So this one, I would estimate on any given week, your average media sales rep, at least in the Australian market, they might be multitasking anywhere from 3 to 13 different products in a product suite. So it's very rare that you find anyone really selling one product at the moment. The product focus really comes down to, are they selling the products that drive the most revenue for the business? Right? If they're not selling the products that drive the volume of revenue, are they selling the products that have a high margin or that need to be sold because of a strategic reason? What time does it take to convert the revenue from these products? So some of the things that are worth considering here when it comes to product focus, and again, let me give you an analogy. You don't want to be the fun police as a sales manager. You don't want to be somebody who comes in and just tells a salesperson what to do. You ultimately want them to be able to have a level of autonomy to run their business the way they want to have the conversations they need to, and to kind of use their intuition as to what products they need to sell. But sometimes you do also need to kind of, use a parental analogy, you need to make them eat their veggies. So I've got a son, he's nearly 3, Freddie. I'm going to fathom a guess if I left Freddie to his own devices and let him plan out his day, he'd want to watch 8 hours of YouTube and he would want to eat chocolate ice cream for every meal. So in his mind, that's a really good high value day. My job as the parent is to come in and just very gently sort of intervene, make him aware of why these things aren't necessarily habit. In moderation, they're good, and get him to kind of eat something a bit healthier. So this is the type of time where you need to think about what kind of insights might inform a media sales professional. If you're looking at different products, like what time does it take to convert the revenue from product X versus product Y? If product X takes 90 days from taking it out to the client, demonstrating, raising their awareness of what it's all about, putting together a bit of a proactive proposal, them reviewing it, them sitting on it for a while, and then eventually moving forward with it, and then it needing to be very, very carefully monitored while it's live, versus the flip of that, which is a product they're familiar with, they've used before, they know it meets their objectives, and it might only be a 21 to 30 day sales cycle from initial discussion till then booking. Those insights are really powerful when you want to have that conversation with your rep. Hey, listen, if you want to get to your budget quicker, if you want to get to your budget more efficiently, if you want to do it with minimal effort possible, it's not a bad thing to be lazy as a salesperson, I'll guarantee that. But if you want to find a way to really efficiently get to your number quickly, here's probably a pathway to do that. Now, what's also worth kind of flagging here though, is that you do actually really want the salespeople to still be able to kind of apportion some discretionary time to other products, or to be able to apportion appropriate time to the products. You know, I have an example. I had a rep in one of my teams years ago, quintessential early adopter. Any new tech platform, any new program, any sort of innovation, anything that felt shiny or new, she would be on it straight away. She'd be taking it out to all of her clients. She'd be very, very passionately kind of presenting it in market. And that's fantastic, right? That's actually a really great kind of trait to have in a salesperson. And to some extent, it was a great conversation starter in market with her clients. The challenge was she was apportioning too much time to that, and she was neglecting the core business. Moreover, the pipeline she was generating for all these new products was smaller, it was more speculative, it was less profitable, And she started to create some real headaches for herself when these campaigns were booking, because it's unproven. There's not necessarily that kind of proven game plan for how to implement. There's a real re-education or education process that would come as part of the post-sales process in terms of managing the client's expectations around what was going to happen. So, the real question you want to ask is, are they selling a product? Are my team selling a product that we need them to sell, but that their clients actually value and want? So it's just about prioritization, but product focus is a massive, massive thing to keep an eye on if you are a sales manager. And number 4, last one, sales team capability. Big one, massive one. Does your team have the skills to drive an opportunity from prospect through to a retention and growth account? So let's think about sales team capability for a second. It's really just saying, is your team match fit? Okay, are they actually equipped with the foundational sales skills to go out there and be successful in the current marketplace? It's not their product knowledge. It's not their relationships. It's not the size of their trade engagement budget. It's actually the brilliant, basic, fundamental sales skills. Can they pick up the phone and book a meeting? Can they set an agenda for a meeting and drive that to an opportunity? Can they interrogate a brief correctly? Can they work that through the channels of the business and negotiate a solution? Can they build a great deck? Can they present it persuasively in market? Can they negotiate internally and externally to get the best price for the client, but also protect yield, protect margin for the business? It's all of those little 1%ers. And, as a really poignant example, over the last couple of years, there was a definite point in time where no media salesperson, at least in the Australian market, had any sort of fitness when it came to presenting. Right? We were all communicating through digital channels. When you were afforded an opportunity to present, it was a very rushed, very lackluster job on Zoom, or it was sending a deck across. And those presentation skills, that ability to read the room and to adapt on the fly and to engage in a really kind of powerful, collaborative type of discussion, they all got completely eroded. So what are some of those things that you can kind of, audit to make sure that your team do have those foundational skills? Now, you're never going to have a team that has 100% capability. You might have some newbies, you might have some seasoned veterans that are getting a bit lazy or a bit slack. You might have some people in the middle who are exceptional at one thing, but a little bit ordinary at others. No one's perfect. No team is perfect. The world is not perfect. So don't think of it as capabilities being you have it or you don't. Think of it in terms of fitness. So, fitness is varying degrees. Sometimes we are really fit. Sometimes we're training all the time, where we've got the great sort of balance of aerobic fitness and strength and flexibility and mobility and endurance. Other times we kind of, letting things slip a little bit. This is where I think some really good rhythm and some good habits and some good hygiene just need to be at the forefront of everything you do as a media sales manager. Make sure that your team, that their sales capability is dialed in, because the best product, the biggest team, all the resources, a limitless trade engagement budget, they're pretty much irrelevant if you don't have those skills at that sales team capability. So I think of that one as the bedrock. But let's run this down. So you're a sales manager running a media team. You come in on a Monday morning, you look at your corkboard, and you've got 4 questions you ask yourself. These are the 4 questions you should ask, and these are the 4 questions you should answer honestly and pragmatically, because if you answer these 4 questions, you're going to have a really good kind of overview across the board of where you're currently sitting in terms of your priorities for that week. Number 1, market coverage. Is my team across all clients and relevant opportunities within their patch? Number 2, customer orientation. Are they hyper-fixated on serving their clients, and do they fundamentally understand their client's world? Number 3, product focus. Are they selling what you need them to sell to the people who have a desire or a need to buy the stuff? And number 4, sales team capability or sales team fitness. Do they have the fundamental sales skills to drive an opportunity from a prospect right through to a retention and growth? So those are the 4 questions that I would put up on a board. In fact, I used to put up on a board when I was a sales manager, and sometimes you don't always like the answer, but what it does is it keeps you accountable across the board as to what's really important. One of the things that's really, really apparent in the sales management role is that nobody really gives you the playbook for how to do the job until you're in the job. So many people find themselves kind of on the back foot. Many people adapt really quickly, and that's great. But what I find has always been really challenging sometimes is just actually having clarity of focus as to what really is important. Because so much of what you do is reactionary based on every week. What's the temperature of the team? What's happening in the marketplace? What pressure is my sales director putting on me? What products or process issues do we need to fix? All of these things can absolutely kind of cloud your judgment, can derail your focus, but a really quick kind of reset, going back to these 4 things and identifying trends over time, looking at this across say a 6 to 12 week period, this will really start to unearth some areas of opportunity and will really anchor your focus. So that is it. Very quick one today. I just thought I would throw my hat in the ring with this whole LinkedIn Live thing. Next time I will have an accompanying deck and a little bit more content. Thanks for coming to the event, guys, and thank you for supporting the podcast and everything I'm doing here. Have a fantastic night, and if there are any questions post this, just hit me up in my LinkedIn DM and I'll try to help you out. Cheers.